Mr. Logan, I'm going to ask you to please open this segment up so that we can just walk through where you've been, where we're going, what you need to continue going and get to the end results of whatever those results might be. I know that from the get-go, in the very beginning, we said that we were not going to release any information until the audit was completely finished. But we are at this juncture where I believe you want to share some information with us because of the reasons why we have not still received the things that were on the original subpoena that Maricopa County is withholding from us, as well as additional information you're going to need to complete this full forensic audit. So I will turn this over to you to get us kicked off here.
Awesome. Yes, Madam President. I think what I'd like to start with is we've actually put together a short video that gives an overview of what we've done with the audit and some of the details associated with it. So could we put Exhibit A up on the screens, please?
I think as all my years as a county manager and working at the executive level in local government, I've never seen a process so unprecedented than this audit. The transparency, the accountability, the integrity, and the overall chain of custody is something that is incomparable to any audit that's ever been conducted in the United States. It was an important part of the process in identifying the individuals to assist us in the audit. Background checks had to be done, social media vetting took place, but we didn't care what party you were, whether you were Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, far left, far right. As long as you entered the building with good intention, knowing that you were going to follow a sense of accountability, that you had integrity, and to do the right thing, this is what it was about. We wanted everybody in this building to be beyond reproach. With over 1,500 volunteers and 200 paid staff, we had people from all over the country in all walks of life. It was important because our chain of command was vital to the structural management process of the audit. We had vice presidents, we had managers, and then we had table managers. But people came from all over, from Pennsylvania to Iowa, from Virginia, Washington, D.C., and of course the state of Arizona. We had retired FBI agents, retired IRS auditors. We had technical professionals. We had CEOs of companies, election workers, and supervisors. We had consultants. We had even a United States Air Force general who had retired, who spent every day working tirelessly to make sure the audit was done with quality. Although it was only Maricopa County residents who voted in the last general election that were able to count ballots and votes, it was important to know that everybody in that building was there for one common goal, and that was to validate the election results and seek out and find any vulnerabilities to provide feedback that would enable Maricopa County's election process to get better, or to provide findings to the Arizona Senate for them to take the necessary measures to restore confidence in the Arizona voter. We had many measures that were implemented to ensure the safety and security of the people within the facility. Badging was something that was very important, where a person to get into the facility had to present their badge, also a legal ID, and be on a list. Another important aspect to this was our COVID protocol, that we ensured that we did not have any issues pertaining to COVID, and people were required to wear masks while on the floor. Any visitors or state delegation personnel that came into the building were also escorted. We had first aid stations on hand, and we had a reunification site set up in the event we had to evacuate the premise. Training was very detailed and extensive. Everyone went through an orientation process before they broke out into their specialized training. If you went to a counting table, you learned what the spinning process was. You actually did a practice tally sheet. You learned what the positions were that were involved in processing ballots and taking ballots off, what table managers did and what pod managers did. If you went into paper examination, you went to a lab where you worked directly with the microscopes and the camera technology in processing the ballots, and the importance of making sure that qualitative images were taken while processing those ballots in the paper examination area. Buzzwords were often used, such as integrity, accountability, chain of custody, beyond reproach, and transparency. And this was the culture that was developed for anyone that stepped in this building. The floor operations had many different moving parts. We had the ballot corrals that stored the ballots and staged the ballots in different ways, from regular storage to staging for paper examination and for staging for further investigation. You had paper examination stations that would then take ballots from the box and process them to obtain the images that were necessary through DSLR cameras and 4 different microscopes that obtained information from each ballot. You had aggregation that would then take the results of the counting tables and input that data into the system to ensure that the proper counts were correct during that process. Ballots didn't move without 3 things: people, paper, and observation. The people who moved them, the paper trail with the chain of custody that followed it, along with the camera observation that did not at any time allow a ballot box to not be seen. The handling of ballots was also very important. Once a ballot box was cut open and the ballots were removed, it was important that we ensured that the ballots were put back the exact same way they were pulled from each of the ballot boxes. Our goal was to make sure that Maricopa County received the boxes back with all the artifacts in it, along with the order of the ballots, the exact same way that we received them. I think with all the outcry of concern the election results displayed, it was important for the Arizona Senate to bring in an independent to evaluate the results. This was done in a way that was unprecedented, that had never been done before with the detail and the forensic side of the audit. But it was also important to be done in a bipartisan effort with the intent to provide feedback to Maricopa County to enable them to get better in their election process, or to provide findings to the Arizona Senate to enable them to create measures that would ensure that in the future that the residents of Arizona could have confidence in the election process.
Thank you.
So that just gives a brief overview of really our heart in doing all this. We've tried to design everything to implement the biblical concept of beyond reproach, so that we would not even have the appearance of evil in anything that we did. The amount of live streaming we have there has been unprecedented. I do not know of another audit that has had so much transparency and video captured. We actually captured, with all our data, over 2 petabytes of data. For you don't know, 1,000 terabytes ends up being a petabyte, and the vast majority of that was video footage. So we have accountability in every action that took place on that floor. There's a lot of great American patriots that are out there, they're part of this process, who gave up time away from their businesses, who gave away, often putting in leaves of absences where they are to make sure they'd be a part of this. I think in total we had over 1,500 people involved in the audit process. Of those, about 1,100 of them were actually volunteers that are just doing there to do their patriotic duty to make sure that we have integrity in our election process. We had, I think it was over 80,000 hours, man hours of time that was spent in what we did. At this stage in time, we have tallied all of the ballots. We've done paper examination on all of the ballots, and that data is still being worked through. The only thing that we have left is we're working through some of the last bits of aggregation to make sure all these numbers are perfect, because we totally understand how much focus is on us right now and how important this is to our country and really to our nation. And we want to make sure that everything we do is as spot on, as accurate as possible.
Thank you very much. I'd like to interject just something.